Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone Episode 7, starring Dr. George Touliatos. George is the author of Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That is available on his website, gtoul.com, as well as Amazon.com. Dr. Touliatos is also a contributor every month to Muscular Development Magazine. He's been a contributor to many other publications and books. Welcome all the way from Athens, Greece, Dr. George Touliatos. How are you, sir?
I'm fine. I'm well, Ron.
Okay. We got some awesome questions. A couple here that I'm glad came up because these are issues that come up all the time, and we've never really had a medical professional answer them. The first one is about muscle growth, hypertrophy, hyperplasia, because all the drugs in the world, they don't matter if you're not really doing the right things to stimulate muscle. So from your scientific research perspective, what you've learned and observed, what actually does cause muscle growth?
Yes, this is a classic question, all-time classic topic. I was fortunate to develop this on an article of William Welling, 2016 on anabolic work. Now, basically, bodybuilding. In bodybuilding, we are looking for muscle growth and not necessarily muscle strength. This is why in your previous one of your shows you mentioned that it's not necessary to be super strong in order to be big.
Right.
So muscle growth is the so-called sarcoplasmatic hypertrophy. That means the enlargement of the muscle cells, and this is achieved by a specific ergophysiologic approach that is the repetition range between 8 to 12, but 12 should be to failure. So you cannot do number 13. Now, if you go below 8, so for instance 4 to 6, or even maximum lifting as in Olympic weightlifting, which is 1 or 2 repetitions, then you're looking for the myofibrillar hypertrophy. That means increasing strength, and the muscle fiber gets enlarged, and you can see this in a cross section under the microscope. The muscle fibers are bigger, but the muscle cells that are not swollen and enlarged, just like in bodybuilding. So there are two different types of approaches in ergophysiology. Of course, for muscle growth, we need at least we need an anabolic environment that involves at least 2 grams per kilogram or 1 gram per pound of animal lean muscle protein. And moreover, this has to be double in carbohydrates, so it's about 4 grams per kilogram of carbohydrates, because carbohydrates release insulin. And if we look more specifically in muscle gainers, the muscle gainers, they have a high percentage of carbohydrates in order to release the insulin. Also, we need a caloric surplus, and we need some good fats, about 50 grams of essential fatty acids, in order to stimulate also hormonal production. Arachidonic acid is a very essential nutrient that leads to muscle inflammation, and the more we train, the more arachidonic acid gets depleted. That's why if we quit for 1 week, then arachidonic acid stores get restored, and then we get sore the very next day. And then the myofibrillar hypertrophy, yes, it has to do with strength. Strength also requires ATP and phosphocreatine, which is creatine monohydrate, the substrate. Okay, and yes, this is the basic factors. Now we may have also, this is the hypertrophy. Okay, hypertrophy means the 50 muscle fibers to get swollen and large, muscle volumizing. However, the hyperplastic phenomena, that means the 50 muscle fibers to become 100, occurs under very rare circumstances of super heavy resistance training, just like in Olympic weightlifting, but also majorly this is achieved by the growth factors, growth hormone, insulin growth factor 1, mechano growth factor, and myostatin inhibitors, and follistatin in particular. That means these are responsible for mitotic divisions and cellular proliferation in skeletal muscle.
So do we all experience this hyperplasia, or is that only occur under certain conditions of training?
Yes, it's kind of rare, and the point is that these new muscle fibers require at least 6 months in order to be hypertrophic. That's why we claim that using a growth hormone for a window of 6 months, then after the 6 months we're going to see the new muscle cells that are already hypertrophic. Therefore, it's not for the short term. In short term, we observe mainly fat burning. But the allegedly hyperplastic new muscles, they have to grow, and we observe this after the window of the 6 months in a row. Yes.
So growth hormone actually does lead to hyperplasia in long-term use.
It can. In higher doses, over 8 IUs, because IGF-1 is involved in that case.
Oh, okay. Well, 8 IUs is a lot. If you're using farmer growth, that's a lot of money. So, okay.
Yes, of course. And 16 IUs and 24 IUs, I have listened to scenarios like this.
Wow, they must be getting free growth hormone or something. Okay. Next one. This is a great one because bodybuilders have been notorious, all of us, for having gear laying around for years, or sometimes somebody will stop using it. They'll say, you know what, bro, here, you can have these. I'm not gonna use them anymore, and they're expired. So this question is, let's say you have expired gear, and he says around 10 years. So I don't know if he means it's already been expired for 10 years. I guess injectables and orals. If the drugs were kept in a dark, cool place, are they still good and safe to take?
Well, I believe all the drugs are still on, and they're effective in a window of 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Then they lose their potential. Yes. Now the point with anabolic steroids is that obviously he refers in vials of 10 ml that they have this tube on that they are closed.
Yeah.
And obviously they are not spread with microbes, and they're not open environment. And something more important, if it's oil-based solution, is more likely to become sterile. If it's water-based, then it's more likely to become contaminated by microbes, because microbes survive in a water environment, not in oily environment. But 10 years, I mean, this is...
That's a long time. So if the seal was broken and you just see the rubber stoppers and the needle's already been in there, years later, that's probably no good at all, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry, you had a story about some guy with expired.
Yeah, there was the Greek Masteron in the late 90s. It was available in Belgium, but I don't know. There was my first mentor, my first mentor, and he was my first tutor in 2000. He was a guru. He kept these drugs in a very special place in order for his friend from Canada to come and take them and use them, because it was the 6 months window in order to expire. So yes, no more than 6 months, and the strength is gone afterwards.
Wow. So a lot of guys just got very sad because throwing away steroids is like throwing away diamonds to bodybuilders. It's just it kills them to throw it away. You know
it's
what I mean?
like becoming underdosed.
Yeah. And if it's water-based, it's probably contaminated at that point. Okay.
Yes.
All right, guys. Sorry for the bad news, everybody. Okay, here's a great one because ketogenic diets. We're here in the springtime. It's coming up on summer. A lot of guys are dieting for contests. They're just dieting to get in shape to look better for the summer. Ketogenic diets, keto diets, very, very popular. What is your opinion of the keto diet?
Yeah, the keto diet is perhaps the best diet in order to lose fat, because in the absence of carbohydrates and insulin, then fat is utilized and ketosomes is released from the liver. And yes, when the fuels are fat and protein and no carbs, then you utilize your own stores of fat, and perhaps the ratio is about 30 to 70 fat to protein.
Yeah.
The point is, if you're a bodybuilder, first of all, you cannot lift without carbs anaerobically. You have no pump. You have no glycogen retention because there's no starch. And also, as a matter of fact, protein is dehydrating. And then this is why it's kind of diuretic, this diet. And you do not hold water, just like when you consume complex carbs. You don't have the glycogen formation in the pump. And also, ketosomes are I believe the keto diet is more appropriate for the endurance athletes, for the marathon runner or the triathlon, or also the endurance bicycle. But a ketogenic diet, yes. In bodybuilding, the only time I used it was the final week before the show, the depletion. What was horrible feeling.
Yeah.
I was using 3 grams of body weight of protein. And there was this kind of smell from the mouth, which is like a rotten apple.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cognitive function was low. There's no sugar in the brain. Of course, things are alternative fuel for the brain, but the primary source is glucose, as we know.
Yeah.
But yes, a keto diet becomes very effective in order to shed fat, and you need it for at least 3 to 4 days. So it's about 72 to 96 hours in order to get all depleted from the glycogen of the muscles and from the liver, in order to ketosome stem to be produced and to start utilizing fat as a fuel.
These ketone bodies that the body will convert, it'll make the ketone bodies in the absence of carbohydrates. The argument from a lot of people that are advocates of the keto diet is your body eventually gets used to it, and you have a steady flow of energy. You don't have the ups and downs.
Yes, steady flow of energy. That is, it's more familiar for somebody who's using low pace endurance cardio.
Okay, because I mean, can the body utilize the ketone bodies, the ketosomes for?
You can use also exogenous ketosomes. Yeah. Just like in Keto Sports of Patrick Arnold, the chemist.
I'm saying some of these guys say they do get pumps, and I don't understand how. I mean, there's some.
Maybe they follow the cycling keto diet. That means during the weekend you elevate insulin by eating tons of rice.
Yeah.
And then pumps, and this is how it may become anabolic. It was the anabolic diet of Dr. Mauro Di Pasquale, the weightlifter. So Monday to Friday you get drained, and then you suck up. It's like just like the carb loading phase before the show.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So they're not true keto is no carbs. So you don't get these big carb refeeds on a true keto diet. You just have to stay.
No, keto diet is not anabolic at all. Okay. It's catabolic for the adipose tissue, but in the absence of insulin, there's no anabolins, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So imagine it's anti-catabolic for the muscles because, yes, certainly ketosomes are anti-catabolic for the skeletal muscle.
Okay. So the next question is about insulin. Gentlemen want to know if insulin is used, but the caloric deficit for that day, would the person get fat?
I don't think so, but when insulin is low, the chances of getting lipogenesis and fat are very low either. But of course, the caloric surplus or defect is a major factor. But usually we have to keep insulin low. Now, some people are using insulin post-workout even during the cutting phase. But just a small amount of 5 I use just for the nourishment and to keep some pump. Right. But as we proceed to the show, then we have to take it out. That's why we cut the fruits, we cut the carbs, we eliminate gradually, and we go at least 100 grams of carbs when insulin is super low, growth hormone is high, glucagon is high, and catecholamines also, these fat burning hormones. And of course is the fat gain hormone, so it's reversible. And we have to manage, but a little bit of insulin is okay to use it post-workout to feed the muscles, but just that. I
mean, if let's say somebody is they're cutting for a contest and they're doing bits of insulin workout and they're having 100 grams of carbs with that workout.
Yes, but people are using 100 grams a day. I mean, it's the energy of the whole day.
Yeah.
And you're telling about one meal, eh?
Yeah.
This is a lot. Okay. Because some people, when they get very low to carbs, they eat the most 100 carbs per day.
Right. Okay. All right. Next one's about Primobolan. For some reason, this guy says, I guess Dr. Testosterone isn't a fan of Primobolan. What about high-dose Primobolan for cutting?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm a fan of Primobolan. Why? Because it's the only injectable. I mean, it was the only drug that was also available in pill that it was not 17-alkylated. But also Primobolan is not 17-alkylated as a substance. And this means it's not liver toxic. Therefore, it's not also messes the lipids. It's a weak anabolic. It's less anabolic actually than equipoise, deca, and testosterone, and also low in androgenicity. This is why it's preferred also by women during bulking phases, because its ester is long, it's enanthate, unlike the drug which was acetate. I was a fan of Primobolan myself. I was cutting, and I used it up to 600 milligrams per week.
Yeah.
And because it's long last ester, it's preferable to be used twice a week, Monday to Thursday, for instance.
Okay.
And yes, it's mainly anti-catabolic, and it has to be stacked with other drugs as well. But when guys ask me for a supposed less toxic cycle, yes, I advise them to use Primo and Deca along with Test. Yes, these are substances that are not messing around liver and lipids.
Why did this guy think you weren't a fan? I don't remember you saying anything.
Because I said it was of low, it's a weak anabolic. Okay, yeah, but you can use it and don't have troubles with your labs.
Yeah, I mean.
But it's very expensive, huh?
It is. It's expensive.
It's about $10 per 100 milligrams.
Yeah, it's not very cost effective, but you know, it's a contest prep drug.
This is why they fake it.
Yeah, I mean, all contest prep drugs are it's much more expensive to prepare for a contest than it is to bulk up. Bulking up is cheap. Some test Deca, D-ball, or whatever, insulin, whatever, you get big. But contest time, oof, that's when it gets expensive. Okay. Final question. Another great question. This comes up all the time. Is it necessary to switch compounds every 6 to 8 weeks during a cycle to continue making progress?
Yes, this was something also that Rich Piana mentioned a year before he passed away. And he said about switching the esters. Therefore, you start with Sustanon, which is a blend that gets rapidly to the system because it has the propionate ester, but also it has the anticaonate ester, which is long-lasting. Then so you switch to cypionate, and then you switch to enanthate. And I'm a fan also switching the substances every 4 weeks, every month. For instance, when I wrote for Anabolic Org my hypothetic pro cycle for bulking, I told them the first month is Sustanon with Deca, the second month is cypionate with equipoise, the third month is enanthate with tren enanthate also. And then also during cutting phase, you can start with Primo, then you can follow with Winstrol, you can start also with testosterone propionate, then you switch to suspension testosterone, then you switch to masteron. So yes, you can change the substances because there are different compounds also, but also the half-life is different of the esters. And there are certain receptors for every substance, the androgenic receptors, but each substance works in a different chemical way.
So if somebody was on a 16-week cycle and they used the same 2 compounds the whole time,
I think yes, you get how you say accustomed to. Yes.
Is that a big reason why people usually hit a plateau about midway through a cycle?
Also, the plateau, as in the Anabolics book, William Lewin says, it comes after the 8th to 10th weeks. So then gradually you have to increase the doses, but the doses brings the side effects.
Yeah.
But usually the major gains are within the second month.
Okay.
Then you have to trick yourself and to trick your system with different compounds, esters, and doses, of course.
Okay. Now, for TRT purposes, guys will stay on 200 milligrams of cypionate for their whole lives, and it still keeps them in a normal range, right?
Yes, but then they have after the first year of TRT, some guys hit a plateau in their libido, and it's because the endogenous testosterone production and the testicles shrink. This is why they have to introduce HCG into the system in order to start the balls to work, and also for some endogenous testosterone production to start working. Also, you have to introduce other substances like Proviron, which is DHT and elevates free testosterone, or DHEA, which is also an androgen that also elevates free testosterone.
Okay.
You have to modify your estrogens also, not super high, not super low, and also your prolactin. These are the libido factors.
Okay, good to know. All right. Well, that has been episode 7 of Ask Dr. Testosterone. You covered some very, very common questions that a lot of people constantly ask, and no one ever really has an answer for. So thank you very much, Doctor. So,
It's mine.
finally, we have some answers. A lot of guys are so bummed that they can't use their 6-year-old bottle of Deca that's been sitting in their closet for 6, 7 years now. But oh well. Sorry, guys. That's it. Please check out the doctor's website, gtool.com. That's gtoul.com. Check out his column every month in Muscular Development Magazine. And for all your basic steroid information about all the different types of drugs used, not just steroids, all the PEDs and how they're used, check out this book, Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, available on his website as well as Amazon.com. Dr. Touliatos, thank you so much. Another great episode. And everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.